I also got Wentz listed here, but
Hmm.
not really in a good way. More
Okay.
just as in if the Colts cut him and
Hmm.
we can get him for 10 million. I
Yeah.
mean, damn. I mean, he still threw for 27 touchdowns and 7 picks last year. You know what I mean?
Well, no. I'm with you 100%. My thing is this. I think the 10 number is going to be extremely low. I don't think he comes in at that low. And even though
Probably
we give,
15ish.
right, and I was going to say, even though we give Carson Wentz a hard time, he still would be our best quarterback without a doubt. That's the nature of it. And that's kind of like how I look at this quarterback situation. I don't want us bringing in anybody that I don't think can beat out Mason and Haskins. I think Carson Wentz, I mean, you bring him in here, he has athletic ability. He has a cannon of an arm. He has prototypical size. He's a proven winner. He's won in terms of when he was in Philly. And even though he, dropped a stinker against the Jags the last game of the regular season, we're not going to act like he still wasn't putting up numbers, while he was in Indianapolis. We said at times this season he looked like he was returning to form. The issue with him is consistency. And
Yeah.
that's something
He
that,
makes the bad mistake too often.
right. And part of it is because of overconfidence. And you get that. And as a player you understand it, but that's something that you ask yourself, can you kind of rein that in? Can you clean that up a little bit? Because if you can, and it taps back into more of that MVP caliber Carson Wentz that we saw
Yeah,
early
he
in
could be a
Philly,
franchise guy.
that's
He
different. Absolutely. He's a proven QB1 to me. I just don't think that he's proven that he's a franchise quarterback just yet, but he's proven QB1. And that's the thing that I like about him. I think that, if the number is right, and that's the part, because it's like, if the number isn't good, I don't want him for
no.
25 or 30. I don't want him for that, because I don't think that he's proven he's consistent enough to get that. But if you're talking, 20 as the max, and we working our way back from that, now it's intriguing, because I say to myself, well, he makes you a legitimate contender still. You're still in the conversation. Whereas with Mason or Haskins, we're still more speculative, and we're hoping they can continue to develop, but there isn't a guarantee that that's going to happen. And that's the part for me where I just say, how do we, weigh that right there? And I think of certain, like, how does it work? Okay, I say to myself, well, Mike Sullivan, what have we seen with him so far? Well, we can definitely point to the fact that he cleaned up Dwayne Haskins' footwork. We saw that in the preseason. We could point to the fact that we felt that Mason looked just calmer and better at times in the preseason this year, to the point where Haskins couldn't
Yeah.
even realistically beat him out. To me, that makes me feel confident in Mike Sullivan, who is the current QB coach, not the Pens coach, our QB coach. So when I think of that, I'm like, okay, I like that. So I say to myself, well, could he continue to have that type of success with the Carson Wentz? And would we be interested in that? Or we want to go the other route of drafting a quarterback and just having to mold him from scratch? And that's, my dilemma with it. But a Carson Wentz type, he comes in and he's guaranteed he's your best quarterback on this roster, no debate. It's not is Mason going to beat him out? Like when we say Mariota, it's no guarantee that Mariota is going to beat Mason out. It's no guarantee that Mariota is going to beat Haskins out. Whereas Carson Wentz, we're not having this discussion. And we just feel a lot more confident with his play than a Mason or Haskins type. So that's the only reason, like, for me, he's really intriguing. But I don't want him over that 20. Like, 20 is like the ugh. Like, once we get there, I'm like, I'm good on him because he's not consistent enough to me.
Yeah, I put him in
Yeah.
that Jameis Mariota tier, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
with you too. If we bring in
Yeah.
Mariota, keep it as a competition. But if we
Right.
bring in Jameis, he's the starter. If we
Yeah,
bring
he's
in
the
Wentz,
starter.
he's
He's the
the starter.
starter.
I hate
Right.
Wentz at the current cap number, and
Right.
with Wentz versus Jameis, I think
Mm-hmm.
Jameis's stock has dropped so much that
Yeah.
anything he does right now is like overperforming. Whereas with Wentz,
Mm-hmm.
he's been playing these last couple seasons. We saw his last
Yes.
season
Yeah.
with the Eagles, terrible. You add that with
Mm-hmm.
the cap number,
It just
it's
makes
just
it feel
tough. Like
worse.
his rep
Yeah.
has took a pretty bad hit, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, why would we consider Jameis like that much better than Carson Wentz? I think it's just
I know.
because
Yeah.
he's been a backup, he's been
Right.
injured, his
And
cap
it's been
number hasn't
quiet.
been that
Right.
much. His
Mm-hmm.
expectations have been so low. Whereas with Carson
Mm-hmm.
Wentz, he was supposed to be Philly's savior after they
Yeah,
got rid of
and
Nick
then
Foles.
when he went to the Colts, he was supposed to revitalize those guys as well and come in there and be, the upgrade
And
to a
he did
Phillip
fine
Rivers.
for them. If anything, I think he
Yeah.
exceeded expectations
Hmm.
coming off of that terrible Philly year. It's
I
just
would
that he
agree.
made the bad mistakes.
And the Jaguars game at the end of the season is the one that everybody points
Yeah,
to
that's the really
when
bad
they
one.
say,
Yeah.
"Man, if you win this game, you're in the playoffs." And granted, the team as a whole didn't play good, but he's the quarterback, and as we always say, the quarterback, you get the praise, but you also get the downside of it as well when your team doesn't perform, because he's the guy at the helm of it, man. And that was the unfortunate part. But I just think that, man, if the number is right, he is worth the intrigue, because you don't get that type of talent anywhere. He's a top pick for a reason. he was an MVP candidate for a reason. I mean, realistically, like we said, man, if he doesn't get hurt, he probably wins the MVP. We can't say that about a lot of quarterbacks right now. We can't say that about any quarterback on our roster right now. Mason isn't even close to that. Haskins isn't even close to that. Whereas, like, we've already seen this guy prove that he can win games and lead teams in 2 different organizations. So to me, that does hold a little bit more weight to me, man.
Well, and not even that. I mean, outside of the MVP season, he's had about 2 or 3 seasons of like solid productive play. I mean, his rookie season wasn't terrible. It was, I mean, it was a rookie season, but it was really just that terrible Eagles year. Everything else has been due to injuries with Wentz, because he had another solid year where he basically carried them to the playoffs with like Greg Ward at receiver. And then last year, when you look at 27-7, he's strung together a halfway decent career thus far. It's just the expectations.
27-7, dude, that is crazy in terms of your touchdown interception ratio. He protected the ball. The problem is, though, when those 7 picks happen, they happen at god-awful times at times. You know, when he plays bad, it just seems to happen at the non-ideal moments. And that's what makes you just feel a little, like, hesitant with him. And then when you look at the contract and you have these expectations, it's that perfect storm where now you get this feeling of, man, I don't trust this guy. Man, I don't really feel confident in this guy. And I think that's more so the issue with him versus him just being a good player or not, because I do think that he is still a good player in this league. He's still young. Like, we can't turn, like, quarterbacks are playing till they're 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we can't write a guy off that quick. To me, I just don't think that, you know, that's the best case, but it really depends on the financial element of it. To me, 20, it can't be over that, because he hasn't proven consistently enough to be a force multiplier.